So there's two structural members left that we have to glue. We're going to do that in place to reduce any sort of preload on this system. So to give the glue proper adhesion, what we need to do is take these tubes, and you can see it's quite shiny on the inside there. Really smooth surface. We need to abrade that surface a bit. So we're going to stick it in the lathe, and we're going to use a series of 150, 180, 220 grit sandpaper, and then we're going to follow it up with a little Scotch-Brite. Make a nice crosshatch pattern, and the goal is to get that to not bead water. We'll start with taking our microspheres, and we're going to go ahead and measure out about a gram. So the scale is doing the calibration. And there's a gram. No, I went past. Okay, so we start over. There. Press this down. That's it right there. Now we're going to go ahead and prep the applicator gun with a mixing tube. So the little red thing in the end is the plug, and kind of what we hope is we've gotten enough of this cleared out that the whole thing isn't bound solid, and it looks pretty good again. Little bit of stuff that hardened up there, but came right out. So the mixing nozzle, actually I'm going to wipe this off a little bit. There's some hardened debris right in the end there. Comes right off. It's pretty clean. Okay, so we need the cap, the screw cap. At the end of this little application here, I won't have any material left, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw that little red plug out. The tube will be expended. There we go. So we'll put the mixing tube and the retaining nut on. There we go. And now, based on our measurements, I should be able to put everything that's left in here, and it should be just enough to do the two remaining tubes. You can see running through the mixing nozzle. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and take the end of this paintbrush and mix the microspheres into the adhesive. We have a working time of about an hour on this adhesive, and it should be completely dry in 24 hours. All right, so we'll go ahead and apply some adhesive to all 4 of the aluminum tube ends. Now we're going to go ahead and apply the adhesive to the insides of the tubes. All surfaces have to be coated with the adhesive. The tubes have been sanded to the required consistency. We did it on the lathe. We spun these things on the lathe, and I just stuck sandpaper 150, 180, 220, and then we used some Scotch-Brite to clean it up. They've been washed with Dawn and water, dried thoroughly, and then cleaned in the alcohol wash as well, and then dried. So now they're ready for some adhesive, and we'll just make this happen. Best thing we found is using a finger and just wiping it on the inside of the tube. Doesn't have to be any deeper than kind of what a finger will reach. That's pretty good. And again, there's 14 thou of an inch of clearance between the ID of the tube and the OD of the aluminum end. The microspheres are 7 thou in diameter. So the microspheres basically keep the aluminum end concentric to the tube. Okay, so both are covered. I'm going to go ahead and remove this glove. Keep the mess down. And we'll go ahead and install this onto the unit. Take an end and take a tube and go ahead, and I like to kind of twist as I feed it in. Disperses the glue nicely. And there we go. And now we'll install this Well, there is a bit of a system here. So what we're going to have to do is put a tube on this bolt, or rather put an end on this bolt, and we'll slide it up over that, put it in position, and then install another screw. Of course, like everything I do is a one-off. I've never done this before, so we're just kind of guessing. Here's my other bolt, and here's my tube, and here we go. Slide this guy up and spin him as he's going in. Okay, this guy's got to be tightened down a little bit. Okay. And looks like it lines right up. So we'll give those a snug. There. And there. There we go. There's a very, very small amount of adhesive that is kind of squeezed out in just a couple of spots where I might have a little too thick. Apologize for the air conditioner. That's it. Do the same thing for the other one. Okay, we've got the two last tubes glued and bolted into place. Now we need to position this thing so it's level, and we can get the bottom surface and the top surface as close to perpendicular, as close to parallel as possible. So we're going to stand this guy up. Chance to see the scale of this now. I'm going to go ahead and use a small clamp to hold this so it won't tip over. It is cantilevered over quite a ways. So we'll stick a C-clamp on here, and then we'll work at leveling it out. Okay, just loosely. And now we'll use a machinist level. So this guy's pretty accurate. So we'll check in, say, the Y direction and the X direction. X is extremely close. I've got a couple of washers that I used when I tested this setup. I'm going to loosen this just a little bit. Pop that washer under there. It's a little too far. Not bad. It's got to come up quite a bit on the end. Kind of like that. That puts us pretty close there. Pretty close there. I think we're going to slide that washer under just a little bit more. That. And there you can see where we're at. I mean, each one of those ticks on a machinist level like this is fractions of a degree. So we're pretty close that way. And we're just a couple of ticks off in that direction. Really, really hard to get that closer, and probably unnecessary. So then what we'll do is we'll move it up to the top and see where we're at. And we're off a little bit. So this side over here has got to come up. And same thing here, up quite a bit on that end over there. So I'm going to figure out a way to shim that up just a little bit, and that will allow this thing to cure in a nice parallel fashion, top and bottom plates parallel. Got this thing all set up now. So here we can see where we're at on the top, running in, say, the X, and then also in the Y. Again, just a couple of ticks is an awful lot on a machinist level, so this is plenty. They're gonna shim this thing up on the telescope anyways, so we are looking really good here. And again, all I did, use some washers to shim the bottom out. And then over here I've got a big chunk of brass. I think it's actually bronze, steel. I've got a tube, and I've got a whole bunch of fender washers. Just that simple. Now all we have to do is wait about 24 hours for this adhesive to dry, and this thing will be ready to carry its full load, which is stratospheric, way up in their 10,000 pound range. We're going to put 165 pounds on it, but we are going to tilt the telescope over in each direction, so this thing has to be incredibly stiff. I think Wendell in the first video mentioned that we only have about 20 arc seconds of deviation allowable in the flex of this thing, both from load and thermal, which is why we went with the carbon fiber tubes. So this is it right here. Space frame, probably the lightest, stiffest way you can build something, and we're pretty proud of this project. Going to do a video shoot next, and also a nice round of photographs to document this for the observatory. But This will conclude this project.